security camera doesn't look dramatic. No chaos, no urgency. Just a quiet patio behind a suburban home in Maplewood, Virginia. The timestamp reads March 14th, 2024, early evening. An elderly man sits in a wheelchair, motionless, wrapped in a light jacket. His name is William Hargrove. He's 82, paralyzed from the waist down. Across the patio, a woman in navy blue medical scrubs walks toward him. Her name is Alicia Turner. She's 35, his caregiver. She stops in front of the wheelchair, places one hand on the armrest, leans down, and kisses him. Not a quick peck, not something awkward or forced. It lasts 4 full seconds, intimate, unhidden, real. Then Alicia straightens up, steps behind the wheelchair, grips the handles, and gently pushes William back toward the house. At 6:35 p.m., both disappear from the frame. That's it. 31 seconds. 11 days later, Alicia Turner will be found dead in an abandoned warehouse. At first, investigators believe this is a random abduction, a wrong place, wrong time situation, a woman taken from a parking lot by strangers. But that theory collapses quickly, because this story isn't about chance, it's about money. $2.5 million, a rewritten will, and a family that decided one woman had become too dangerous to keep alive. What the camera captured wasn't just affection, it was motive. Proof that Alicia wasn't manipulating William, she mattered to him, and that made her a problem. What could make a family choose murder over inheritance, and how did it all begin years earlier, long before that kiss ever happened? William Hargrove wasn't always invisible. In September 2021, he was hit broadside by a pickup truck doing nearly 50 miles per hour. He survived, barely. His spine didn't. The damage left him permanently paralyzed. At first, his family showed up. His son Bradley, his daughter Christine, his grandson Tyler. Then the visits slowed. Then they stopped. By his 80th birthday, William sat alone in his house, staring at a phone that never rang. Investigators later found a journal entry from that period. One line stood out. "My family disappeared the moment I became inconvenient." In December, William hired a home health aide through an agency. That's when Alicia Turner entered his life. She wasn't flashy, not dramatic, but she asked him something no one else had in years. What would you cook if you could still stand at a stove? 2 days later, she brought groceries and cooked his late wife's lasagna recipe with him, adjusting the kitchen so he could help from his wheelchair. William cried while they ate. Over the next year, Alicia did far more than required. She played jazz during therapy, read him poetry he loved, took him out in public so people saw a man, not a chair. Slowly, William came back to life. And somewhere in that routine, affection turned into love, something his family would never forgive. When William finally chose happiness, he didn't realize his decision would place a target on the only person who cared if he lived or died. By late 2023, William and Alicia were no longer pretending, just hiding. The age gap didn't matter to them. The judgment didn't matter. What mattered was that after years of abandonment, someone chose him. His family noticed. In January 2024, Bradley showed up unannounced. What he saw wasn't a patient and a caregiver, it was a couple, laughing, holding hands. Bradley accused Alicia of manipulation. William exploded. Years of resentment poured out. The family was thrown out of the house. They didn't stop there. They hired investigators, lawyers, tried to challenge William's mental capacity. Every attempt failed, so William did the one thing he could still control. On March 5, 2024, he changed his will. His children's inheritance was slashed. Alicia was named beneficiary of $2.5 million, the house and remaining assets. One clause made it untouchable. If any family member committed a crime against Alicia, their inheritance vanished entirely. The will was airtight. What William didn't know was that his attorney's assistant had loyalty elsewhere, and the family learned everything. Panic set in, because as long as Alicia lived, the money was gone. And that's when the conversation shifted from lawyers to solutions. Once the family realized they couldn't beat the will, they asked a darker question. What if Alicia never lived long enough to collect? The plan wasn't emotional, it was precise. Surveillance, schedules, license plate numbers, cash withdrawals. Alicia was watched for days. On March 14th, her last day before a break, William planned to propose. He'd bought a ring. Alicia never knew. At 6:34 p.m., the camera captured their kiss. 13 minutes later, Alicia walked out the door. Minutes after that, she was taken. No ransom, no hesitation. She was killed less than an hour later and left in a locked warehouse owned by one of the very people who wanted her gone. 11 days passed while the city searched. When her body was finally found, the evidence unraveled everything. Phone records, bank withdrawals, surveillance footage, DNA, text messages. At trial, the jury watched those same 31 seconds on the patio. They didn't see manipulation, they saw love. Every defendant was convicted. Life sentences followed. But the final blow came afterward. Because Alicia died before William, her inheritance voided. And because the family was convicted of crimes against her, their inheritance vanished too. Every dollar went to charity. They killed for money and got nothing. If one quiet act of compassion can trigger this level of violence, how many similar stories never reach a courtroom, and how many caregivers are already being watched right now?